Sheridan was so quiet you could shoot a shotgun down Main Street and have no fear of injuring anyone. A group of local citizens wanted to do something about that situation and decided to put on a rodeo. They set their sights high and organized a first-class professional rodeo on par with the other professional rodeos happening around Wyoming like Cheyenne Frontier Days. Now, after some fancy financial work to finance this endeavor, the entire community and the downtown merchants came together to support the efforts of the rodeo committee to ensure the success of the very first Sheridan WYO Rodeo. And that rodeo was a great success. $15,000 purse. Now think about that, 1931. $15,000 purse brought professional rodeo contestants from all over the United States. A rodeo parade on Main Street drew thousands of spectators, and a carnival at the fairgrounds and participation of hundreds of Native Americans in night shows provided even more entertainment. The Sheridan WYO Rodeo was well established in its first year. The committee was reformed into a board of directors, a group of people who ensure that the rodeo remains entertaining, competitive, and good for Sheridan and all of the Cowboy State. This morning we are joined by the president of the WYO Rodeo Board, Billy Kraft, Vice President Zane Garstead, and board member in charge of legal affairs, Hayden Heafy. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Floyd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I hope I got those names right this time around. And now, heading right off, we've got a lot to talk about. Rodeo Week is just around the corner. Everyone's getting excited. And but first, I would like to get to know each of you just a little bit more. Mr. Kraft, you've been on here a few times with me. It's a pleasure having you on every time, sir.
As long as you don't wear it.
Now, what got you interested in rodeo that you can remember? Probably something since your childhood, huh? And then why did you join the board in the first place?
As far as my interest in rodeo, I think I was like most little kids across the nation, regardless of where they grow up. When you're little, and it's been said that at some point or another, every one of us, man or woman, wanted to be a cowboy. And I was no different than anybody else. So, horses, the whole thing interested me a great deal. And I got to tell you, this is kind of a nostalgic thing, but when I was a little kid, a pair of Wranglers came with a little comic book in the back pocket. It fit right in the back pocket, and it always was about rodeo. And it was neat as hell. I wish I'd have kept them.
Wow,
I bet
yeah.
they'd be worth a fortune.
I'd never even heard of that.
But every pair of Wranglers had a little comic book stapled in the back pocket. And and I grew up farming and ranching, and we were country kids, and it was just kind of a natural thing. And then as I got older, I tried my hand in it long enough to realize that I really had zero business trying to do what I was trying to do. And tried to ride bareback horses just long enough to realize that I was not a bareback rider.
It's good to know that, what not to do.
Yeah.
And probably wasn't going to be.
A tough life lesson.
It was fun, but it had a few knocks with it. But anyway, and then as far as the board, I was asked to join the board by then President Tracy Swanson. And I really hadn't thought about it. But he said, I think you'd be a good fit. And I have to thank Tracy because I don't know how long it's been. It's been 30, 31, 32 years. I don't know for sure, but it's been a while. And this has been one of the most gratifying things for me that I've ever done. This is a phenomenal community, and it is because so many people give of their time, treasure, and everything else. We don't have the treasure. We got the time and hopefully some talent that has helped contribute to the success of the WYO and the success, not the success, but just making this community what it is. And it's special.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a jewel in Sheridan's crown.
Absolutely it is.
Sir.
Now, I'm just going to continue right over. Mr. Heafy, what about you? What got you interested?
Like Billy, I had experiences working on farms and ranches when I was a youngster, but I started a lot later. I moved to this part of the country after I got out of college and came from Kentucky, so I was an Eastern kid, and worked on one of our iconic ranches around here, the Padlock Ranch, for 7 years. Then I went to law school. But when I came back, I was infected with the idea that the rodeo was where we got to see the finely honed skills that cowboys practiced every day on a real ranch. And of course, it was in competition. The heightened sense of gambling associated with it, because there's no guarantees when the competitors go out there.
Yep.
And the Sheridan WYO Rodeo was the ultimate. If you wanted to go see cowboy skills, and you're from around here, you went to the Sheridan WYO Rodeo, and you saw the names that you read about in the magazines, and you dreamed and schemed about how maybe I too could someday do some of that. So one of the early board members from the Sheridan WYO Rodeo was a guy named Willie Pellissier, and he always said to me, he said, we're gonna get in that rodeo someday. You and I could go rope in that rodeo. Never happened. I never got that kind of skill level, but I was interested. And after a number of years of just practicing law and being somewhat disassociated from the rodeo scene, I started working with what was today we know as the Sheridan County Rodeo, and all amateur, all local people, but it was an opportunity to create an event that would allow people in our community to participate as active competitors.
To go be those big stars out there.
To go be those big stars at a level that they were competitive at, not competing against world champions, right? Like Billy, I got recruited by Tracy Swanson. And he said, why don't you come on our board and work with us? So I did. And I think since then, I have not been so enamored with the rodeo per se, or the events in the rodeo, but I've been more interested in what the rodeo means to Sheridan, and to see the people of Sheridan gather around and participate however they could in the rodeo, to bring their kids to the rodeo, to do all of the downtown and community events that are associated with the rodeo. But in order to foster and promote all those things, I think we need to put on a jewel of an event to draw people in. And that's what our board has really worked at. And that's been a driving force for me to stay involved with the rodeo committee.
Yeah, before I asked Mr. Garstead the same question, when you were out there at the Padlock for all those years, did you guys have some fun out there? Maybe just jumping on a bull now and then, or maybe even jumping on a bareback when you got the opportunity?
I remember as a very, very wise 20-year-old being put on a young yearling bull in a chute, and just told to hang on.
That's pretty much it, isn't it?
My bull riding experience ended there. I tried the same thing with a bareback horse. That was a short-term career. And as far as saddle bronc horses, I don't say this in a bad way, but there was a lot of ranch horses in those days that you had to be very wary about, and you had to learn how to sit up and ride, because they might buck you off.
You might end up doing a little saddle bronc just out on the job.
Exactly, and that's why I say when you get to the rodeo, you're looking at the projection of skills that are all the people in the ag and ranch community out west have seen, practiced, and used themselves, except now we're doing it in a highly refined way by very, very skilled people.
Now we get to stand around and decide who's the best. at those
Exactly. We
skills.
get to judge it.
Now, Mr. Garstead, now that we got you away from Trevor,
We go back a long ways. Long ways.
He was
yeah.
telling me you guys almost kind of came into this whole thing together.
Yeah, that's great.
You started out at Sheridan College.
Correct, yeah.
And he started down here
Yeah.
Covering sports. So I
Yeah.
think that's amazing. And both of you, look at you now.
Yeah. Well, don't. Or maybe. But
So what got you interested in rodeo? Because you were a rodeo coach.
yeah, I come from a rodeo family. I'm from Alberta originally. My dad holds the record in Canada for most bull riding championships.
Oh, wow.
And so that's something you grow up doing. And it seems a little dangerous, but not really. It's kind of like a way of life. I think probably rock climbers and race car drivers, you grow up in that culture. It doesn't seem so weird or dangerous as maybe it does for someone who didn't grow up in that culture. But I was very fortunate to do that, and I came to Sheridan College. Actually, 40 years ago, I was a freshman at Sheridan College, and I say this a lot, but I went home at Christmas time and I said, I'm going to live in that town. I love Sheridan. So I rodeoed professionally. I rode bulls till about 1994, I think. But basically, all I have is based on rodeo. I mean, I can thank rodeo for that. But I was like Hayden and Billy. Tracy Swanson did a fantastic job of developing, I think, the rodeo and the board. And he asked me, I coached rodeo for about 2.5 years, and then in '93 he asked me to come on the board, and I did that. And so next year I'll be 30 years. And that will be half my life. I've been on the WYO Rodeo board, which is crazy. But I do want to say one thing, that all of us have passions and skills and things that mostly passion, I think. And and I think myself, I'm really fortunate to be able to give back and to be involved with something you're passionate about. And I guess we talked about this earlier, but we all, I think, should look at ways of how we can give back to things that we're passionate about. And this community makes it easy, because this community is absolutely fantastic. I bleed Sheridan. I love this town. I love everything about it. I love the people. The WYO Rodeo Board is just an extension of our community. And it's just an honor to be a part of it.
After a lifetime of rodeo and rodeo events, do you wake up and with some aches and pains still?
Oh yeah, yeah. The key to that, though, I've figured out, is you just got to keep moving. You got to get up and start moving. But I'm very fortunate that in my career I had some injuries, but nothing really, really serious. So I'm fortunate in that ways, but all of us have aches and pains, and as you get older,
I have aches and pains.
Yeah, you just get up and keep moving. That's the key. So,
Well, now I've got to take a quick commercial break. But before we go, just kind of as a board, what would you say is unique about the Sheridan WYO Rodeo that is different than any other rodeo that we can get to?
We ask this question of people that see hundreds of rodeos, because we constantly critique ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the answer we get almost across the board is, what makes this rodeo unique is the fact that this committee does it. This committee puts on the slack. This committee is heavily involved in every aspect of the rodeo, 12 months out of the year, but we are on the ground, hands on, and they tell us that's what makes this rodeo so damn unique. Excuse my French.
I know, that's good. I love that. You're not a figurehead. You're down there in the trenches with the troops. And that makes a world of difference in a lot of different professions. And on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue with our Sheridan WYO Rodeo Board. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Lord James, it's happening! It's really happening! July 30th!
What's happening, peasant?
The Tournament of Knights, a spectacular show of jousting, melee, and awards for wearing our best finery!
They're having a Renaissance fair too. People in stockades, Donk the Monk, archery art, a petting zoo, even cosplay with prizes.
Oh, yes, but of course the main event is the Knights of Mayhem!
Away from me, peasants! What's the cosplay you speak of? Quickly, get my shillings! We're off to get tickets!
We can get our tickets at a land called chapswyo.org.
Hi, this is Elizabeth.
And JT with EBA Hearing and Sound. Hearing well is living well, and we're here to help.
Not only are we able to provide premier hearing aid technology with Bluetooth and AI, but we can address the environment in which you are hearing.
Our sound consultation services tailor solutions to fit your needs. Whether at work, at church, or at home, if you're struggling to hear, we can help.
Call EBA Hearing and Sound today, 674-8920. That's 674-8920.
Remember that kid that kept falling down the well and had to be constantly rescued by their collie dog? Well, if that family had just called 307 Wildcat Well Service, that old well would be a pipe and a pump. 307 Wildcat Well Service is a local company that specializes in locating water, drilling and pumps, residential or ranch, repair or service. So for water wells and all that goes with them, just Google 307 Wildcat Well Service and you too will have cool, clean water. Water.
It's Thursday, and that means it's time for Hot Buys over on SheridanMedia.com. We have a ton of items for you ready for bids, all starting at 50% off of retail value. We have items from My Buddy's Place, EBA Hearing, Chaps, Midland Market, Big Power Sports, and a bunch more. Those vendors and more with items all starting at 50% off of retail value. Bidding is easy. Just go to SheridanMedia.com, click on the Hot Buys banner, find the items you're looking for, and bid away. Hurry though, bidding ends tonight at 8 p.m.
Next week is Sheridan WYO Rodeo Week, so join Sheridan Media for our broadcast of all the Rodeo Friday activities, including the Pancake Breakfast, the Sneakers and Spurs Run, right up through the bed races, and of course the parade itself. We'll be live on KROE 930, 103.9 FM, the Coyote 93.7 FM, or you can watch the entire broadcast live on SheridanMedia.com. Parade day coverage is presented in part by First Federal Bank and Trust, Heartland Kubota, Lee Heating and Cooling, Truebill Builders, and EBA Hearing and Sound.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, brought to you by our friends out there at Eliason Financial. I'm Floyd Whiting, and this morning I am joined by the president of the WYO Rodeo Board, Billy Kraft, Vice President Zane Garstead, and board member in charge of legal affairs, Mr. Hayden Heafy. Now, we've gotten to know our board members just a little bit better. And before I move on, let's get to know their positions just a little bit better. Mr. Kraft, when it comes to being the president of the board, you said one of the things that really makes the WYO Rodeo so unique is having to be down there, having to be really hands-on involved in those events. As president, what are your duties sitting on the board?
Okay. First of all, I want to say we don't have to be down there. We get to be.
I love that.
Well said.
Well
said.
I'd like to.
That's great.
That's our gravy. That's what we get for being on this committee.
Who wants to sit on the sidelines?
I don't know. I'm a world's worst spectator. That's our privilege. Okay. Anyway, what I do, and a lot of these duties are not presidential duties. They're duties that we've had and that we've carried along throughout our involvement with the board, and exactly how we got to them, I don't know. But you've done it for a while, and now because you've been an elected president doesn't mean you're going to do something else. You know how it works. So I deal with contracts. I deal with hotel rooms. There's a biggie, you know. I do that. General communication. I don't know, you know, it's hard for me to put my finger on exactly what I do, but contracts is probably the single, if there has to be a header there.
The biggest thing that you got to sit down with all the paperwork.
You do that.
That in itself, I could only imagine.
But it's easy because first of all, we deal with the same people as much as we can. We like the tradition and the family aspect of bringing back. We try to get the very best. We want the best bullfighters. We want the best, and they become family. They're not just in and out. They become part of our group. So we're dealing with the same people a lot of over and over. So it's a matter of updating things. I mean, once your contracts are in place, you go through and you spend a little time updating. You communicate with them as far as are the money still going to work, or what do we need to change, edit, whatever. It's not a high pressure situation at all. And you know, there were times when, like our sound, for years we struggled to try to get a quality sound product and to deliver to the audience, because that grandstand is a bit of a challenge, and our open air situation.
Yeah.
So that wasn't my problem, but it was our committee's problem. But we worked and we went through a lot of different providers, so on and so forth, until we finally found something that clicked. And once we did, now it's not broke, so don't try to fix it.
I mean, we got to where we need to be.
Yeah, let's and they're top flight outfit out of Kansas City and Omaha, and they're really good at what they do, and they deliver us a really good product with really good people behind it. Don't fix it,
right?
You know, and so what I do is somewhat repetitive, but it's not difficult. It's not tough. It takes some time, but again, how good a time manager are you? And I'm not the greatest time manager in the world. So right now I'm in a bit of a scramble because, for instance, I took 10 days off and left the country with my grandson.
Oh.
So anyway, but you know, we have our duties. Those are the things that I do, and it's not difficult.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love.
I was going to say, and it's something that I can tell you really like doing.
I'm like Zane. I can't be more proud of this community.
Amen.
What this community has done for my family and for us when we started and built and grew our company and everything else. We owe this community. My family owes this community in a huge fashion, and this is what we have. We don't have the treasure. We got the time and hopefully a little talent, and we're more than happy to try to give it back.
That's fantastic. Mr. Garstead, what are the duties of vice president?
Before I go there, I want to say that Billy's being very humble in what he does. As the president,
I kind of figured as much, yeah.
As president, you set the tone. Like, you set the tone for the entire board. And what I've always appreciated and respected about Billy is that he has a servant mentality, servant leadership, and that is, I totally buy into that. I think that we are here to serve. You'll hear Billy say a lot of times that, you know, we are the servants of the community, that we're here to serve, and we have a responsibility to be the best that we can be to provide our services to our community to make it all it can be. So in other words, I shorten it by saying our job is to serve, not to be served.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so he won't say that, but that's a huge part. And that leadership, really does set the tone for the rest of the things that are done with the rodeo. So I basically do vice president stuff. If Billy's not around, then, I conduct meetings, do that stuff. Yeah, you just do what you need. That's what I've always loved about this committee is if you see a need for something that needs to be done, you don't say, well, that's not my job. You just get in and go do it and get it done, because that's what you do. So like Billy said, I do sponsorships, and then I'm heavily involved with production of the rodeo itself. So as you can imagine, with sponsors, they touch every part of the rodeo. And I have a really big nose, so I stick my nose in all parts of the rodeo, whether people like it or not. But it is very important. So, yeah, I mean, we all have our part, and we all do what we need to do. And one thing I will say that it's a year-round job. It's not something you start like last week. It starts the day after rodeo. You start planning for the next year and do the things that you need to do.
And I think a lot of people needed to hear that, that this is a year-long job. This isn't just something that you all gather around and start doing a month and a half beforehand. This is something...
Used to.
But the commitment is there. It's absolutely there. Now, moving over to you, Mr. Heafy, what is your job as far as ticket sales? Because you deal with that a lot. Tickets, which, holy cow, I mean, lifeblood.
Yep. Tickets are the lifeblood. Ticket revenue, I guess we should say, is the lifeblood for the rodeo. And sponsorships and contributions from community supporters are the two key revenue sources. And this is, for all of us, this is not about money in terms of putting this rodeo on and what we do, but we darn sure recognize that you can't put on a production in Sheridan without some dollars to bring all these folks in from out of town to produce the event. So I should talk about this from when we start. When we started in my early years on the rodeo board, I was not connected with ticket sales, but it was what I would call a fairly old-fashioned, traditional way of selling tickets. We spun out a roll of seats. You came down to the ticket booth and you bought your tickets. Due to some innovative prodding from one of our board members at the time, we shifted over to an electronic-based ticketing system through a company called eTix. Which is the system we're using now. We've tried 2 or 3 other companies in the process. None of them are perfect, but eTix we think is the most functional and best for this size rodeo, and they're very adaptable to help us do what we need to do. So what we've tried to do is keep the rodeo up with technologically changing times.
Always moving.
Stay in the 21st century, and I think interestingly enough, I've seen Sheridan and Sheridan's residents just coming right along with that, because I think accurately 80% of our tickets are sold online. People go to the website, they pick the tickets off the seating chart that they want, and they pay with their credit card or their PayPal, and they have their tickets downloaded to their phone and come to the rodeo.
Makes it a lot easier at the gate.
It's very easy, and the young people of the community especially love that convenience. They're very comfortable with it. It's how you buy a ticket for any concert, music concert you might see. I think it works very well. And we still offer the service of the ticket booth at the lobby of the WYO Theater, and people come in. You can order your tickets online, for example, and then come to the office, and we'll print the traditional ticket stub for you for your entry. The beauty of that is we get to meet everybody in the community.
Yeah.
And make those personal connections. And I have an opportunity to really learn how passionate the community of Sheridan is for the WYO Rodeo.
When you see those smiling faces,
Smiling
get those tickets in their
and
hand.
suggestions on how you could make the rodeo better. I mean, there's just a lot of feedback that you get from the community members themselves, and they're really who drives this rodeo. We don't have a rodeo without the support of the community. It's the reason we do the rodeo, and it's the reason the rodeo continues.
Absolutely. And on that, we're going to take another quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with our Sheridan WYO Rodeo Board. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Is not just tax preparation. With the changes due to tax reform over the last few years, you need a tax planner to ensure you are getting the most value for your business. We offer advisory services customized to your needs to help maintain financial viability while achieving future goals. Come see us today. Parker Mellinger, focusing on where you're going, not where you've been.
The owners and staff at Kane's Funeral Home would like to thank the families of Sheridan and Johnson counties for choosing Kane's and allowing them to serve you during these hard times. Kane Funeral Home makes it their mission to take the stress and uncertainty out of ceremonial services. They own and operate the only crematory in Sheridan County, so your loved one is always in their care. Kane's Funeral Home. Call 673-5837 or visit them online at canefuneral.com.
I'm voting for Liz Cheney, and here's why. As a small business owner, I appreciate Liz Cheney's support of rural healthcare initiatives.
She has supported the military. She's a great supporter of Warren Air Force Base.
Liz will respect and protect our public lands in Wyoming.
I'm proud to support Liz Cheney's stance on a strong national defense and her support for veterans.
Join me in voting for Liz Cheney on August 16th.
I'm Liz Cheney, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Liz Cheney for Wyoming.
Bye-bye, my good boy. Be good while we go on vacation.
Parents get so uptight leaving us precious pets behind, but when they leave us in the quality care of McGraw's Paws, they really have nothing to worry about. We get lots of love and attention from the trained staff. This place is so nice, clean, safe, and pretty darn comfortable, so we dogs and cats have a good time while they're away. Plus, it's in a convenient in-town location for our humans.
McGraw's Paws, 1820 Gabriel Court, next to Second Chance Cat Rescue. Call 307-381-2184. We're taking in-advance reservations.
This is Renee Botten. I'm running for re-election as Sheridan County Clerk of District Court. By now, you may have seen that my opponent is running negative ads against me. Now I kind of know how President Trump felt. I can assure you that the District Court Clerk's office is being run competently, efficiently, and correctly. My opponent is hoping to pull you away from the truth, which is that I am the most qualified candidate. Don't fall for her deceptions. Vote Renee Botten for Sheridan County Clerk of District Court. Paid for by Renee Botten.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, brought to you by our friends out there at Eliason Financial. I'm Floyd Whiting, and this morning I am joined by the president of the WYO Rodeo Board, Billy Kraft, Vice President Zane Garstead, and board member in charge of legal affairs, Hayden Heafy. Now, before we went to the break, we were talking about some of the duties that these board members have in all of their varying jobs. We should also speak about some changes that are going on this year out at the WYO Rodeo. Nothing too big. Every little change comes in its time. Now, there's some new ground at the arena this year. Can you tell me a little bit about that, sir?
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to our stock contractor less than an hour ago, and he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, here's the deal. It's kind of like a blind date, okay? we.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, but it
I like
is
where this is going.
It is what it is. We just saw this ground for the first time. We have not held hands. We have not kissed. We've done nothing. So Tuesday morning, we're going to hold hands. We're going to start our steer rope and slack at 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning. So we're going to hold hands with this ground. 6 o'clock that night, we're going for the first kiss because we've got a full 96 barrel racing runs.
Oh, wow.
So we have a plan. But this ground is so different than anything we've ever worked with. There's a lot of sand in it. Takes a lot of water, a tremendous amount of water to keep it stable, binding. So we have a plan. This plan, I'm sure, will be changing and evolving continually throughout the next 10 days.
As the date goes along.
Exactly, and as the weather each day is going to dictate. But we're excited about it because we had issues with the old ground. It was worn out. We had some, for lack of a better term, we had a shear effect where things that happen repetitively, primarily barrel racing, where they run the same pattern over the same footprint.
And just beat that down.
And they just slowly slide the ground away and they get down to a hard pan and then they just start slipping as hard as this desk and they would just slip and fall. And it's not good for them. It's not good for us. It's not good for rodeo.
Yeah.
And so the county stepped up and they put new ground in. They had an engineering survey done and they determined what we should have and they put it in. And so now it's kind of like the sock hop in high school where the girls sit on one side and the boys sit on the other side. And we're going to slowly, gradually come to the middle and learn to dance. That's all I can say.
And hopefully it all goes well.
It's going to go great. We just have to be on top of it and be proactive, but we're excited about it. A little nervous, maybe, but we're excited about it.
Well, I think, big changes like this because, Mr. Garstead, ground, that's so important to rodeo.
It's absolutely important. And the hard part about that is that for different events, they like different types of ground. So it's always, it's tough to have, it completely 100% satisfaction with everyone.
Yeah.
But I want to add to what Billy was saying. So the Cowgirls, they have weekly rodeos. They were the first ones on the ground, and they were using it. And so they were very helpful to us to say, hey, you guys need to pay attention to this or to that.
They gave you lots of good feedback.
Lots of really good feedback. And then there was other work that needed to be done that we realized, and so to prepare for the rodeo. So I'm dropping names now. Travis Anisi is brilliant. He works for EMIT. He actually changed the entire ground at the college arena, and then he helped us just like Wednesday, changing some of the things like the boxes in the alleyway that leads up to the arena. He got a crew out there on very short notice and helped us to improve that. So I guess it just reinforces that we have a community that cares. They want what's best for the rodeo and for the community, and hats off to those folks like that and the county fair board for changing the ground. So we're going to make it work.
That's fantastic. And once again, it is just another notch in the idea that this is Sheridan's community rodeo, isn't it?
Amen.
This is the community itself coming together. Yeah, I mean, each board member, you're not removed from the community. You're all members within this community.
There's days we'd like to be removed. There's people that want to remove us.
Yeah, there was people that want us removed, that's for sure.
Those things happen. Now, another question I had, what is this about increased added money?
Go ahead, Zane.
Well, we went to every December before the National Finals Rodeo, we go to this, it's called the Prca Convention. And we are fortunate that we're in the top 50 of rodeos in North America. There's probably 700 rodeos in the U.S. and Canada, and we're in the top 50. I think we're around in the 30s somewhere. But in order to remain competitive And to keep attracting the best athletes, we need to continue to grow our purse. So especially now, oh my gosh, with the community or economy the way it is. So we have now increased the money by $3,000 in each event. So we went from 12,000, which is to 15, which was interesting. That when we went back to the first year and it was a 15,000 total purse, now it's $15,000 per event.
Per event.
Yeah. One thing that we're very pleased about also is we started with the women's breakaway roping last year, and because it was the first year, we kept our prize money at $4,000. Well, we're going to continue, and then we jumped that event to $15,000 as well. So we're really trying to make an effort to continue to be competitive and be one of the stops for these athletes when they're traveling and making plans to rodeo. The other thing that we did, which was probably we haven't talked about, is the Indian relay races. And we increased that prize money from $50,000 to $75,000, so we increased by $25,000 in that event. And again, we're a major stop, or maybe the stop, when it comes to Indian relay. And you know, when you asked about what makes us unique, that would be it.
Yeah.
Because I think, honestly, if you watch the crowd, sometimes they'll stay for the relay, and then some people leave. So
that relay really brings people in, doesn't it?
And it does. It's so entertaining, and some people love and hate Kennard Realbird, our announcer, but he makes that event. I mean, it's so exciting. But to have an announcer like him, he can be quite controversial, but he's
passionate. Is he passionate?
Very passionate. Wouldn't you say? Very passionate. Yeah.
And he's one of them.
Yeah.
Ken's an Indian. I mean, that's it. These are his people, and you know.
And he enjoys.
Do your job, Ken.
And this is the big event.
Yes.
And I want to just add that we are fortunate because we have two professional events that you get for the price of one. You get an we could have that event separately, all by itself, and still charge the same amount of money that we pay, that people pay now. But not only they get Indian relay races, they get a top professional rodeo that you can't beat. So I think you're getting a lot of value for your money. The hardest part, honestly, is our production time. We run about 3 hours, and you can't go over that. Like, we run a very strict schedule. So that's one of the challenges that we have, is packing all that stuff in
just
3 hours.
within the time frame.
Yeah.
I could only imagine. I mean, even some of the most staunch rodeo fans, your butt gets a little sore up there in the stands after a good 3 hours. Now, when people participate in slack, and I don't have a lot of time left, and I want to touch on what's really going to kick off the rodeo this year. But when people talk about slack, can you tell people who don't know what this is, what slack is?
Slack is overflow. Slack is overflow from the performances themselves. In order to make this industry and this game work, you have to have entries, as many entries as you can handle. Ours are limits. Our timed events are limited at 90. Our rough stock events at 48. Okay? So we can't fit those into a performance. You can have 10 to 12, depending on what, in a performance to maintain your 3-hour time limit. Well, there's a whole lot more happens. The majority of rodeo happens during slack, which is, they're competing for the same money, the same rules, everything else, but it's on a different part of the clock or a different part of the calendar. So we run 3 rounds of steer roping Tuesday morning. We run 96 runs of barrel racing slack Tuesday night. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday mornings, we run steer wrestling slack, calf roping, tie down roping slack, breakaway roping slack, team roping slack, and that happens every morning, and that's free. Come up. You're
and
watching.
This is the same performers, the same athletes, the same stock that you'd see in the big show.
Absolutely.
No rough stock, but you're going to see by far more timed event rodeo at slack than you'll ever see during the performance.
Yeah. And I mean, and this is how we stay within those time frames.
Correct.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
We run
Yeah.
Slack to help pick up all this, all the overflow, because the rodeo it's so famous now that we've got a lot of Slack to get through.
Yeah.
And so, and as you said, Mr. Kraft, this is free. You can just grab your family and head on down and enjoy watching some good rodeo events.
Yeah, if young people want to learn how to be competitive in timed events,
This is how to do
They ought
it.
to come up every morning at 7 o'clock and watch how these top competitors prepare their horses and prepare themselves to compete. Because as Billy says, they're on the clock, and this is going to move them up to the next round.
We've got a lot of rodeo teams here that, could really use a lot of that great experience, couldn't they?
Definitely. I did want to add that on average, there's about 25 competitors in each of those events. So everybody competes one time. Then out of that, the top 10, they get a bye or they move to the performance. So the best competitors that day move to that evening.
To the next tier.
Yeah. Then the others run again in the morning. So there's like two almost like two go rounds of rodeo or in those events in the morning.
So your day can be full of rodeo. I
yeah.
absolutely love
Oh,
that.
yeah.
All right. Now, when is our? I've only got about a minute left. When's our first event going to be taken off, sir?
Okay, Slack starts 7 o'clock Tuesday morning, the 12th, with steer roping. Then at 6 o'clock that night, we run all of our barrel racing Slack, 96 runs. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning, Slack starts. Performances, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, 7 o'clock. Be there by 6:30. We've done everything we can to try to streamline our scanning process to get people in, but there's a lot of people. There's 6,500 people trying to crowd their way in there. Come early. Make sure you've got your seat so you don't miss the Indian relay races, because that is the biggest draw we've got. Yeah, and
real quick, sir, where do I go to get tickets?
Call me. No. Come to the Sheridan WYO Rodeo ticket office, which is inside the WYO Theater lobby at the south end. And you can go online to SheridanWYORodeo.com.
All right.
I'm going to trash the internet. Be very careful that you get our official website and not a scammer site.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, very, very much. I greatly appreciate you folks coming in. I've had a great time. You've been listening to Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM, Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Hammer Chevrolet is an opening in the Collision Center for a body shop technician. This is Sheridan's premier collision center. You're working with the best technicians in the business. Hammers offers a great employee-centered working environment with benefits that include a generous 401k, outstanding Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance, paid time off, a very lucrative signing bonus for the right candidate. Come work with the best collision team around. Apply in person at Hammer Chevrolet Collision Center next to Hammer Chevrolet, 107 East Alger. Hammers is an equal opportunity employer.
You've been thinking about building your dream home. Best of West's the place to be. Hi, it's Jack and Kathleen Wood from Best Real Estate.
You're right, Jack, with 5 to 7 plus acre lots starting at around